very good evening to you. You're right in time to join myself, Olive Burrows, sitting in for Lillian Muli and Emmanuel Ndungo on a Friday night. Emmanuel, what do we have to look forward to in the sports?
Good evening. It's good to be with you again. My name is Emmanuel Ndungo, and later on in the world of sports, we'll be looking at a preview of the weekend's Premier League action, the Kenya Premier League action, and a little bit more. We've got some info from the Saudi League as well, so look out for that.
All right, we will, but first, the highlights. New role for Ida Odinga. President Ruto nominates Raila Odinga's widow as Kenya's ambassador and permanent representative to UNEP.
We are going to look into this uniform issue because uniforms are beginning to be another source of corruption. Some schools charge as high as 38,000.
Exploitative enterprises. President Ruto fires warning over unreasonable prices of school uniforms as children flock to report to grade 10.
If I had known that I would lose you all in one day, I would have turned back the clock of time and done a million things differently.
Shattered dreams for 3 young souls. An emotional farewell as siblings who perished in a car crash are cremated, leaving family and friends grieving.
Ilikuwa saa 7 ya usiku, akamwaga petroli kwa nyumba, akafunga na nje na kufuri na akawasha kiberiti.
Wrath of a jilted lover. For family members nursing burns after an estranged lover allegedly set their house ablaze in Mukuru, Kwanjenga. Emmanuel and myself, Olive Burrows, are also joined by Yulan Zale as our sign language interpreter. President William Ruto has nominated the spouse of the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and that is Canon Dr. Ida Odinga, as Kenya's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. In his nomination letter, President Ruto lauded Mama Ida as a distinguished educationist, civic leader, and an acclaimed advocate for social justice and gender equity. As you'll hear now from Emmanuel To, Dr. Ida has recently been caught up in the ongoing ODM rupture, where she called for calm and dialogue.
In his nomination letter, President William Ruto heaped praises on Dr. Ida Odinga, highlighting her illustrious career in the classroom and in boardrooms. President Ruto saying, quote, her life's work stands as a testament to the highest ideals of selfless service, defined by courage, sacrifice, grace under fire, and unceasing commitment to advancing women's education and empowerment. Born on 24th August 1950, Mama Ida started off as a graduate teacher at Highway Secondary School in Nairobi and later at Kenya High School, where over a decade in the classroom, she nurtured a deep-rooted and enduring commitment to education, inspiring and guiding successive generations of future leaders. In the early 1990s, amid the national clamor to transition from a single-party state to a multi-party democracy, she played a key role in advancing calls for change and democratic reform as the founding chairperson of the League of Kenya Women Voters. Mama Ida has also had several stints at the international stage, earning recognition and awarded 2 honorary Doctor of Letters degrees. In 2018, she was conferred with Kenya's highest civilian honor, the Elder of the Order of the Golden Heart, EGH. She has also received several distinguished accolades, including the Trailblazer Award and the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Human Achievers Foundation. Mama Ida is expected to appear before the National Assembly soon, where her suitability will be put to test and later appointed by President Ruto if Parliament approves her nomination. Her nomination comes barely 2 days after President Ruto moved former sports CS Ababu Namwamba to Kampala as Kenya's new High Commissioner to Uganda, creating room for Dr. Ida's appointment. Happy birthday to Just before her nomination, Mama Ida waded into the now all-out war in the ODM party, calling for a ceasefire and dialogue as cracks widen post the former ODM leader Raila Odinga.
Raila ran ODM on principle of constant consultations and always referring to the people.
For over 52 years, Mama Ida remained the steady force behind the former Prime Minister, the late Raila Odinga, standing by his side through the thick and thin of Kenyan politics and beyond. For close to 2 months after Odinga's passing, Mama Ida remained in the spotlight, enduring hours of visits from local and international guests who trooped to the Akango Kajaramogi home to pay tribute to the fallen hero. Emmanuel To, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
On to matters education now, and President William Ruto says his government is now turning its attention to the school uniforms arrangement in senior schools, which he says has inflated prices and driven up the cost of education. The president describes the practice as an avenue for corruption, but promises a crackdown to stop it. This comes as scores of grade 10 learners have heeded his directive, reporting to schools across the country without paying fees and in their junior school uniforms. Brenda Wanga has that report.
Brenda Chelagat is a long way from Kenya High School, where she was initially placed after her stellar performance in the KJSEA. She has found a home at Kapkisiara Girls Senior School in Roret, Kericho County. She arrived at this school as early as 7 a.m. Friday morning, armed with nothing but the uniform she wore for the last 3 years in junior school.
Sema unaenda tu shule venye huko, but mi sikuwa na imagine kanda kuja tu, but shosha aliniamsha asubuhi akaniambia enda alafu nda kufuata.
Nina vitabu ya kusoma ya Kiingereza ya grade ya 10 na vitabu ambayo ataandika ambayo tutamtolea ili aendelee kusoma hapa ijapokuwa.
She is among the thousands of learners who have heeded President William Ruto's directive to report to senior school regardless of whether they have uniforms or fees. While Brenda received a warm welcome at her school, another learner from Bomet had a very different experience. Duncan Lagat had only spent a few days at Simoti Secondary School in Konowen, Bomet County, before being sent home for not having the full set of school uniform.
Achana nilisikia president alisema waende hata na uniform yoyote.
Niliambiwa muende muvae sweater na jacket yenye ile ni kama ya iko ya Simoti, na mimi sina hiyo jacket, ninafaa nikae nyumbani.
The government's directive has seen hundreds of learners flock schools for admission as the government continues to chase the 100% transition to senior school. At Mvindeni Secondary School, 5 learners showed up for their first day of senior school.
Kama sio serikali, kwa hiyo naunga mkono serikali pia kwa kunileta shule, hata kama sikuja kwa uniform zangu, lakini nashukuru pia kwa kufika hapa.
We are expecting 100% transition of 1.1 million learners from junior school to senior school. So far, we are at 91%, 1 million. There are 100,000 who are hiding somewhere. We want to tell them, we are coming for you. We cannot allow you to stay out of school. All learners must go to school.
But even as the rush to join grade 10 continues, the president says the school uniform cartels in senior schools will not be tolerated by his administration. School uniform costs have been cited as one of the main drivers of the high cost of senior school education in the country.
We are going to look into this uniform issue because uniforms are beginning to be another source of corruption. Some schools charge as high as 38,000.
The mop-up of learners continues as the government maintains that it will not stop until all learners are in school ahead of the commencement of learning next week. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
Now, before we continue with the transition to senior school, at the very event you've witnessed where President William Ruto was addressing the question of school uniforms, he also pushed back against claims by the Kiharu Member of Parliament, Ndindi Nyoro, that the government has undervalued its Safaricom shares, allegations suggesting the country could lose up to 150 billion shillings. The president dismissed the claims as misleading, insisting that Safaricom's valuation is determined by the capital markets, not by boardroom or committee negotiations. With that report is Melita Olatenges.
Once close allies who championed the Kenya Kwanza vision, and at one point with the president even declaring that he was mentoring him. President William Ruto and Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro now find themselves on opposite sides of a widening economic and political divide. The latest bone of contention is the government's decision to offload 15% of its 35% stake in Safaricom, a move expected to earn the state 204 billion shillings from Vodafone. Nyoro, however, argues that the stake is grossly undervalued, claiming the country could be losing up to 150 billion shillings in the process. President Ruto has dismissed Nyoro's claims, accusing him of misleading the public.
So I want to tell those people who are giving us lectures about what we are doing with the IPO on Kenya Pipeline or Safaricom, they should spare us their political conmanship and intellectual deceit. We don't need it. We want to move the country forward.
The president has also taken a swipe at leaders questioning his administration's economic record, saying their narrative contrasts with the country's progress.
We have overtaken Ethiopia, we have overtaken Angola. We are now the 6th largest economy in Africa. The one that I hear some politicians say is a failed state. I think the failure is not in Kenya, the failure is in their small minds.
On his ambitious economic blueprint, the Singapore Dream, President Ruto says the government is on track to raise 5 trillion shillings for infrastructure development by next year. He points to ongoing plans to sell stakes in key parastatals, including the Kenya Pipeline Company, as part of the strategy.
I said 5 trillion. Yes, we have the means to raise 5 trillion. Now, by next year, we will have raised all the 5 trillion.
The president was speaking at State House, Nairobi, where he hosted more than 5,000 interns during the launch of an internship program under the Affordable Housing Initiative. He announced a monthly stipend for the interns and urged them to seize the opportunity before them.
The dream is free. The hustle is not.
Melita Olatenges, Citizen TV.
Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga has joined calls from the civil society for a refund of public funds spent on President William Ruto's advisors. And this is after the court ruled that the appointment of 21 of them was unconstitutional. State House Comptroller Kato Olemetito told Parliament in May last year that the advisors earned the same pay as cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries, with gross salaries of up to 990,000 shillings. On Thursday, High Court Judge Bahati Mwamuye ordered an audit of all offices under the Executive Office of the President, focusing on those created under the current administration, with a view to abolish any that do not meet the required legal standards. High Court Judge Bahati Mwamuye did not pull his punches on Thursday when he declared the Constitution of Kenya 2010 introduced a clear criteria for appointments to state and public offices to replace the old order of ethnicity-driven appointments, politicization of the public service, cronyism, and recycling of persons who had been rejected by the electorate at the ballot box. Mwamuye concluding in response to a constitutional petition filed by the Katiba Institute in May of last year that the manner in which President William Ruto appointed his over 20 advisors violated not only the Public Service Commission Act and regulations, but several requirements of the Constitution. Justice Mwamuye, for instance, pointing to Regulation 27(2) of the Public Service Commission Act, which stipulates the Commission shall determine the number of advisors who shall be appointed for the President and Deputy President as may be needed for carrying out the functions of office. After assessing several things which are listed in Clause 27 of the Public Service Commission Act, and which include the financial implications of creating the office. But not only was the Salaries and Remuneration Commission not involved, but the requirements of PSC regulations were not met. Regulation 27(6)(1, requiring it to be demonstrated that the technical competencies, skills and experience possessed by the proposed advisor do not exist in the public service. Instead of carrying out its functions, Justice Mwamuye observed that the PSC, based on the correspondence it submitted to the court between itself and the Executive Office of the President, rushed to rubber stamp the appointments, observing that, quote, there are no minutes of commission meetings, no reports analyzing the requests against the criteria in Section 27 of the PSC Act or Regulation 27, no records of discussions or consideration of the financial implications or the uniqueness of the proposed advisor's skills, or an examination of whether there was indeed a gap that could not be filled using internal human resource or human resources from the wider public service. Justice Mwamuye was also not sold on the argument preferred by the Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Arthur Osia, that, quote, the appointment of, quote, personal public advisors to the President is an internal administrative staffing matter and not a legislative or major policy decision with general public application. A notion Justice Mwamuye sought to disabuse them of, finding the creation of multiple senior and publicly funded offices within the highest office of the land affects the structure of the executive, has substantial recurring financial costs, and potentially alters the dynamics of policy formulation. It is a decision of high governance and public interest that is very much fitting for public participation. The positions were never advertised. There was no open call for applications, no shortlisting based on objective criteria, no interviews conducted by an independent panel. Specific individuals were simply named by the President's Executive Office and thereafter appointed as fait accompli. His judgment continues to read, the total secrecy surrounding the number, functions and cost of these offices until this litigation for some disclosure is a blatant violation of this constitutional duty. The public had a right to know these details proactively. The respondent's failure to publish them breached Article 35. Former Chief Justice David Maraga joined civil society actors in celebrating the judgment. Posting to his social media, the invalidated advisor positions consumed substantial public funds, and it is only right for those payments to be refunded since the offices were illegal. President Ruto's chief economic advisor, David Ndii, is among the 21 affected by Thursday's decision and immediately responded, we don't need state offices to advise the president. We supported him for 2 years on the road to victory. We can do it as an informal kitchen cabinet over breakfast every morning. Olive Burrows, Citizen TV. Despite the green light allowing grade 10 learners to report to school without uniforms or fees, some families remain at a crossroads. Harsh economic times have left many without the means to afford transport to their respective schools, dampening their hopes of accessing education. And as Laura Otieno reports, some parents are also questioning the president's directive, wondering whether the promise will hold in subsequent terms.
At Kano village in Kwale, Pauline Wanjiku leans into the day's work, hoping to raise enough money for bus fare to Karatina. The single mother of one has only managed to buy a towel for her 15-year-old daughter, who secured a placement at Karatina Girls High School in Nyeri County. And despite the president's directive allowing all grade 10 learners to report to school without uniforms or boarding fees, Pauline fears for her daughter's sustenance, saying the overall cost of schooling remains far beyond her reach.
Hesabu zote zinakuja 19,890 ambapo na kando na kununua zile vitu zingine anafaa atumie kama sanitary towels, kama brush, toothbrush.
In Nyamira County, Jupiter Abuga clutches her calling letter. She is due to join Nyabururu Girls High School in Kisii County. However, with her ailing mother away, the minor has been left stranded, uncertain of how she will make the journey to school.
Sina fare, sijui hata shule yenyewe pali iko. So naomba yeyote aingilie kati aweze kunisaidia ili niweze kutimiza ndoto yangu ya kuwa neurosurgeon, nisaidie familia yangu sababu iko chini.
Thousands of learners are yet to comply with the president's directive. At Mutulani village in Makueni County, Mercy Mukui and her son remain stuck. Despite having transferred from Mwingi Boys to Kitonyoni Senior Secondary School, the family is conflicted, uncertain about the long-term implications of the president's directive.
Sasa nauliza serikali, wamesema tupeleke watoto shule, juu fasi tamu, wamesema tupeleke shule hata kama una kitu, mpeleke shule. Na second term itakuwaje?
As the clock ticks, learning is set to begin for the inaugural grade 10 cohort. For those with humble backgrounds, however, hope slips from their fingers with every passing day. For now, they remain stranded, waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
A storm is brewing in schools across the country barely 24 hours after President William Ruto directed that grade 10 students should report to school with or without fees. With large numbers of learners joining under the new directive, school principals say they're being asked to perform a miracle to teach, feed, house and sustain students without the funds to do so. Speaking to Citizen TV on condition of anonymity, school heads say the government has released a paltry 5,000 shillings per student as capitation, a figure they say falls far below what was promised and what is needed to keep the schools running. With that report is Crispin Otieno.
As hundreds of students streamed into senior secondary schools across the country following the presidential directive issued on Thursday. For many of these schools, the early celebration of open gates is fast giving way to anxiety. Speaking on condition of anonymity, principals who spoke to us say the president's assurances are in sharp contrast to the realities on the ground in their schools.
I heard the president talk about 50% of capitation. Unless something is not right somewhere, that is not the true state of affairs. The capitation which is in schools is far below 50%. I can break it for you that for this first term, each child got 5,500 on an account which we call operations. And then the children also got 1,000, all thereabout, in an account known as tuition.
The school administrators say that while they welcomed the move, allowing grade 10 students to report without fees or uniforms, they are still struggling to keep their institutions afloat. Judging by the capitation released last month, the principal's concerns stand in sharp contrast to statement by Education Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok, who maintains that schools have adequate resources to sustain students.
For the first time in many years, the government released capitation before schools opened. So the schools have money. There is no reason why a school should deny students to go in because of lack of money, because they already have capitation. And the parents there are so many parents also who have paid for their children.
But on the ground, school heads say the numbers do not add up.
Because the capitation going to schools is supposed to be 22,240 something. Now, when the government sends 6,500 to schools, it is 50% of what? As principals, we are already fearing. The whole of last year, we only got a capitation of about 14,000, the entire year. We as principals, we welcome these children to school. But the truth is that there is no money to sustain these students in school.
By Friday, we shall then be asking the President to send capitation to schools, full capitation, beginning with what remained last year, which was about 6,000 per student, and coming to what is remaining now, because they have only sent 5,000 out of 11,000.
Even as these appeals grow louder, school heads have been warned not to send students home over fees, a directive that principals say deepens their dilemma.
Even if a learner doesn't have uniform, they can still report to school and look for money later.
With only about 30% of capitation released so far, questions now hang heavily over whether the schools can survive the term without cutting meals, piling debts, or halting essential services. Crispino, TNO Citizen TV.
Emotions ran high at the funeral service for 3 siblings who died in a road accident on January the 4th in Soisambu, Gilgil, Mukuru County. Family and friends eulogized Njeri Delion, Emmanuel Delion, and Cairo Winkleplek as gentle souls who brought calm, warmth, and joy to their family. The trio were traveling with their parents, Wangoi Ndirangu and Christopher Winkleplek, when a truck collided with their vehicle while they were en route to a children's home in Bungoma. And this was just days before they were due to return to the United States, where they live.
Pain, tears, heartbreak. Family and friends of 16-year-old Njeri Delion, 13-year-old Emmanuel Delion, and 6-year-old Cairo Winkleplek are overcome with grief as they gather to view the lifeless bodies of the 3 children. Surrounded by loved ones, their mother, Wangoi Ndirangu, is held and comforted, struggling to say a final goodbye to her little ones. What was meant to be an annual family vacation to Kenya from their home in the United States turned into a nightmare. On January 4th, Wangoi Ndirangu, her husband Christopher Winkleplek, and their 3 children hired a vehicle to travel to Bungoma, where Wangoi dedicates her time to supporting a children's home. The journey was smooth and filled with hope until they reached Soisambu. There, a truck driver overtook recklessly. In a desperate attempt to avoid a head-on collision, their driver swerved, but fate had other plans. The truck slammed into the rear of their vehicle, shattering what should have been a joyful trip into tragedy. Cairo succumbed to his injuries moments after the crash. His brother Emmanuel held on for a few hours before he too passed away. Their sister Njeri was rushed to Nairobi for specialized care, clinging to life. But tragically, despite the medical attention, her condition worsened and she passed away 14 days later.
If I had known that I would lose you all in one day, I would have turned back the clock of time and done a million things differently.
The love you guys brought to everyone was beautiful. It broke my heart to lose you both, but you didn't go far apart. You didn't go alone. A part of me went with you.
Amidst the tears and sorrow, the family eulogized the 3 children, each remembered for the special light they brought into the world.
I want to thank you for the light you brought into my life. The world feels far, too quiet without you. But I find my strength and my only comfort in God, my Lord and my Savior.
Every moment was special because we were together. We shared girl talks with Njeri. We played Roblox all the time with Cairo. And Emmanuel remained goofy. I will forever hold you close to my heart and cherish the moments we shared.
Born and raised in the United States, the 3 children had been looking forward to returning home to continue their studies. Dreams cut short by the tragic accident. The driver of the truck involved was arrested but later released on cash bail as police continue with investigations. From the church, the funeral procession made its way to Karioko Crematorium, where the 3 were laid to rest, bringing a heartbreaking end to their young lives. The tragedy has once again sparked concerns over the rising number of road accidents in the country, with calls for authorities to step up efforts to to curb the growing menace. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
I can't even begin to imagine the agony the parents must be going through. We take a break on Friday night, but here is what's coming up. Thank you for staying with us on Friday night. A family of 4 is fighting for their lives after an estranged lover allegedly set their house on fire in Mukuru, Boma Yangu estate in Nairobi. The tragic incident claimed the life of an 8-year-old girl. According to the family of Roslyn Mokaya, who is admitted at the Kenyatta National Hospital, the suspect attacked the family on Wednesday night, locked them inside their home with a padlock, and drenched the house with petrol before setting it ablaze while they were asleep. As you'll hear from Franklin Wala, the suspect is still at large.
Rosalyn Mokaya is fighting for her life at Kenyatta National Hospital after suffering life-threatening burn injuries on Wednesday night. She is being treated alongside her 3 children who are on oxygen following a reported arson attack. The family was attacked when a suspected jilted lover allegedly set their home on fire at Mukuru, Boma Yangu estate in Nairobi. According to the family, the incident occurred around 1 a.m. while they were asleep. The suspect reportedly locked the house from the outside with a new padlock, poured petrol into the home through the doors, and set it ablaze. In a desperate attempt to escape, an 8-year-old girl identified as Mary Nyamoita, the youngest child of Roslyn Mokaya, jumped from a 7th-floor window and tragically died. 4 other family members were rescued but remain in critical condition.
Ilikuwa saa 7 ya usiku, akamwaga petroli kwa nyumba. Akafunga na nje na kufuri na akawasha kiberiti. Dadangu mdogo alikuwa juu ya kitanda, yeye hajui kenye kinaendelea. Kitu tu aliambia bradhangu, hiyo moto ni mingi, itatuchoma. Na akafungua dirisha na akaruka chini.
In an interview with Citizen TV, the family identified the suspect as Ronald Anyona Nyakoe, a boda operator in Nairobi's Central Business District. They say he was previously in a relationship with their mother. According to the family, the man began making inappropriate advances toward the children, and when confronted, he allegedly planned the attack that targeted the entire family.
So mama akanipigia simu akaniuliza, Eva uko wapi? Ndipo alikuja akaniambia huyo jamaa naona ni kama anataka kuniangamiza. Nikamuuliza utaenda kwa nyumba na si atakuja huko? Kaniambia wacha tu niende niona watoto juu nimewacha peke yao. Sagero ni nickname yake, but wengi wanamjua kama Ronald Anyona.
CCTV footage obtained from a petrol station in Mukuru shows the suspect on the night of the attack at around 11:28 p.m. He reportedly arrived to fuel his motorbike to a full tank at a cost of 1,815 shillings. After filling the tank, the suspect allegedly told the attendant he had paid via M-Pesa, handing over his mobile phone before speeding away without making any payment. Moments later, he is said to have carried out the attack on the family.
Shida kwenye iko hajapatikana, najulikani kwenye yako. Na simu aliacha kwa petrol station.
The family reported the incident to police, but they say little has been done to apprehend the suspect. However, detectives at Makadara police station say they are actively trailing the accused. Security and management at Mukuru Boma Yangu estate declined our request to access the crime scene, raising questions about how the suspect was able to enter the well-guarded estate, set the house on fire and leave unnoticed. Franklin Wala, Citizen TV.
Police in Pangani, Nairobi, are investigating the torching of a bus involved in a road accident along Juja Road on Saturday morning, which left a Boda rider dead. According to the driver of the bus, which belongs to Forward Travelers Sacco, the accident happened after a Boda operator hit a woman, lost control of his motorcycle, and was thrown under the moving bus, sustaining fatal head injuries. A crowd gathered at the scene and alleged discussions emerged about torching the vehicle. A SACCO official took control of the bus and headed towards Pangani police station. He was chased and cornered by a group of rowdy youth on motorbikes who assaulted him, leaving him with life-threatening injuries before torching the bus. The SACCO official was rushed to the Nairobi West Hospital and admitted to the intensive care unit.
Polisi walikuja wa traffic, sadili walikuja, mimi nikaona watu wa pikipiki wamejaja hapo, wakisema hakuna forward itapita hapo. Mimi nikajinyorosha tu nikaenda hapa, nikakuja hapa police station.
Kuna ushahidi wa kutosha. Hao vijana watashikwe kwa sababu wanajulikana mpaka mahali wako washikwe. Wakitaka tuwasaidie, watuite sisi, tutawasaidia. Na hii mambo ya kuchoma magari, gari ifanye accident unachoma gari ya mtu ya nini?
Tumeenda hasara kubwa na hiyo gari ni around worth 5 million kwa sababu ni hizi gari za NQ1 na ni mzee kidogo, so is worth like 5 millions. Currently you have paid a bit of deposit of 300,000 kwa huyo mtu wetu amechapwa pale Nairobi West.
As per now, we may not know exactly who may have done that arson over the bus. So the investigation will reveal and necessary action will be taken accordingly.
Controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie and 6 others are said to be charged with the murder of victims at Kwabinzaro Forest in Kilifi County. According to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, investigators have reviewed the evidence and resolved to charge Mackenzie alongside 6 alleged accomplices. The suspects are accused of extending the Shakahola fasting to death ritual to Kwabinzaro, where 52 people lost their lives. The ODPP told a Malindi court that Mackenzie cannot be presented to take his plea until a production order is issued.
To commence that investigation that had not been examined and classified by the KFCB. My lady, just a second. Mr. Jami is present before films and stage. As an officer of this honorable court, I cannot stand and lie before this honorable. And Mr. Jami can actually confirm 10 offenses or the offense of yes. That's 20,000 for the same. Convicted on his T2 of 2017. Yes. That is one of them, correct?
The United Opposition says it will front a joint presidential candidate early next year to challenge President William Ruto. Speaking in Kitui County, the Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka and the DAP-K chairperson Eugene Wamalwa called for reforms at the IEBC, accusing the electoral body of poor performance in last year's mini polls. The leaders also urged public vigilance ahead of the 2027 general election, vowing to defeat President William Ruto at the ballot. President Ruto's personal aide, Farouk Kibet, has condemned tribal politics in the country, urging leaders to focus on pressing issues affecting Kenyans. Accompanied by National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, Kibet sought support for Wetangula to fly the presidential ticket in 2032, calling on the Western region to rally behind him and Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. The two leaders also urged the Orange Democratic Party to resolve internal disputes and maintain unity for the sake of national stability.
Sisi tunawarai ndugu zetu wa ODM, msilumbane. Raila alikuwa mtu ambaye hata mkibishana namna gani, mkimaliza anasema Kenya is bigger than an individual. Hata mimi tulikosana baada ya kura ya 2017, lakini baada ya kupata waways kila weekend kama Arsenal inacheza anaambia vijana yake ito mwami tuende tuangalie Arsenal, sisi ni watu ya Arsenal.
Mimi nataka hii serikali kimalizika ya kuunga Mheshimiwa William Ruto, serikali ikuje hapa Western Kenya. Nyinyi mko tayari? Mtashikilia viongozi wenu na nguvu? Mumeona baba wa Roma hapa amekuja kujenga maisha ya kesho.
Apologies, we did not have the Eugene Wamalwa and Kalonzo Musyoka story, but we will be airing it shortly. Before then, the Supreme Court has lifted a ban it imposed on Senior Counsel Ahmednasir Abdullahi in January of 2024. The Apex Court, in sanctioning the outspoken lawyer, said his comments on social media undermined its dignity and authority. In lifting the 2-year-old ban, however, the court stated that Senior Counsel Ahmednasir Abdullahi had an opportunity to introspect and determine his relationship with the Supreme Court, and that it had no reason to doubt assurances given by counsels on record. The court further ruling that Senior Counsel Ahmednasir Abdullahi, an employee of his law firm, any other person holding his brief or acting on his instructions may appear and practice before the Supreme Court henceforth. However, in a rejoinder, Ahmednasir posted on his X account that whereas his partners and associates are free to appear before the court, he will not in person practice before it unless it justifies reasons for sanctioning him. And that happened in 2024 when deep-seated challenges affecting the judiciary vowing to fight for judicial reforms. The ban was imposed on the 23rd of January 2024. All right, back to our earlier report. The United Opposition says it will front a joint presidential candidate early next year to challenge President William Ruto. Speaking in Kitui County, the Wiper Patriotic Front leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the DAPK chairperson, Eugene Wamalwa, called for reforms at the IEBC, accusing the electoral body of poor performance in last year's mini polls. The leaders also urged public vigilance ahead of the 2027 general election, vowing to defeat President William Ruto at the ballot.
Ya kwamba sisi katika United Opposition tumeamua tunaenda kushikana hadi tumtoe William Ruto. Jana tumekuwa na mkutano wa all of the principals na tumesema we will stay united to the end until Kasongo asonge arudi Sugoi. Na tutoe mmoja wetu, a joint presidential candidate, mwaka ujao.
The CEO, Marijan, atoke mapema. He cannot be the CEO for IBC for the next election. We also saying Smartmatic, they have been quoted upande wa Venezuela na kwingineko, messing up the whole nation, as what happened in 2022.
5 more Kenyans have emerged winners in the ongoing Shangwe na Safaricom promotion, each walking away with 1 million shillings plus an additional 250,000 shillings to support a community project of their choice. The winners received their prizes during a colorful ceremony held at Kangundo Road Market in Nairobi. Safaricom Chief Executive Officer Peter Ndegwa said the Shangwe at 25 campaign continues to demonstrate the power of shared prosperity and giving back to communities. 55-year-old Moses Elekana, one of the winners from Nairobi and a plumber by profession, described the moment as life-changing, thanking Safaricom for transforming the lives of millions of Kenyans through the promotion.
Nasikia nikiwa na furaha sana, hata kutembea nimeshindwa. Naona miguuni kama inatembea ifiki chini vizuri. Hii pesa niko na kazi ambayo nitafanyia. Nitaendeleza ujenzi wangu ambayo ulikuwa umekwama, na pia niko na mtoto ambayo anaenda college, pia itanisaidia kwa school fees.
Is to thank all our customers for being loyal to us, kwa kuwa nasi kwa miaka 25, and we are very happy for all of them. The second thing is we were not just rewarding customers, we were also rewarding business people. So we rewarded business community, watu wa biashara 250,000 for being loyal to us, wakiwa merchants.
A report by the Institute of Public Finance shows that nearly half of Kenya's population is living below the poverty line, with over 23 million Kenyans unable to spend more than 387 shillings a day, the equivalent of $3. According to the macro-fiscal analytics snapshot by the IPF, while the economy has remained relatively stable, the benefits of growth are not reaching most Kenyans. Jimmy Bogo has more.
The report by the Institute of Public Finance, which assesses the macro and fiscal environment in the country, warns that Kenya continues to experience uneven growth, with household income shrinking despite the economy expanding. According to the report, weak budgeting practices are deepening poverty and inequality. While inflation has eased, food prices remain elevated, squeezing an already constrained household budget. IPF further warns that poor short rains are likely to push food inflation higher, worsening the burden on vulnerable families.
That the real income, the real wages per household has declined by around 4%, from around 1,900 per day to about 1,600 per day. And as that has been happening, the prices of services are also taking back the household income.
As we speak, about 43% of Kenyans cannot earn or cannot afford $3 in a day. 43%. So imagine, in a population of 55 million people, we are talking about over 20 million people.
The report further shows that Kenya's growth model has failed to generate quality jobs or raise incomes, with IPF noting that this has resulted in the economy producing what they term survivalist workforce dominated by informal, insecure jobs that depress wages and limit government revenue, an issue that experts warn could undo economic gains that have been seen.
Our economy at least has grown at an average of 5%. But even as we celebrate this growth, which is relatively stable, we have not seen a significant growth in wage employment. So what we see is, an expansion of the informal sector.
We risk deepening poverty and inequality as growth continues to bypass informal workers, the women, the youth, and the climate vulnerable communities. We also see the reversal of human development gains driven by underfunding and under-execution in health, nutrition, in WASH, and in agriculture.
The government has been urged to consider an exemption from taxes for Kenyans earning below 30,000 shillings, with experts calling for more taxation of the affluent. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The Kenya Union of Sugar Plantation and Workers Union has issued a 7-day strike notice demanding the payment of accrued benefits amounting to 10.8 billion shillings. Speaking in Kisumu, Union Secretary General Francis Wangara decried what he said was an apparent deceit by government, which had promised to pay part of the amount by October of 2025. The workers have now threatened to cripple operations in the sugar sector until all outstanding dues are paid. Laura Otieno has that report.
About 6 months after the government finalized the leasing of mills to stabilize the sugar sector, a storm is brewing over the 4 newly leased mills as workers plan to down their tools from Thursday next week. Top on the list of grievances is the failure by government to pay a 4 billion shillings debt in accrued salaries and benefits owed to workers, which was to be paid in phases beginning October 2025.
The only option the government has is that the money must reflect on the account of workers before Thursday next week. If they don't do so, the workers will be out, farmers will be out, suppliers will be out, and everybody will be out to join us in this strike. I'm told the president wants to go and commission the Nzoia factory when it started milling. I advise him not to go there before he pays workers.
Apart from the dues, the workers also cited instances of unfair compensation in some of the newly leased mills.
These are the rights of the workers, and we must speak about it. Some of these companies have lowered salaries to a margin that nobody can believe it. Somebody who was earning 50,000 has been reduced to earn 11,000. That is the offer has been given. And this is happening in the two companies, Nzoia and Chemili. They are the ones who have abused workers' salaries.
During the leasing process, the government committed to pay a sum of 10.8 billion shillings as salaries and accrued benefits to workers in the 4 sugar factories. The sum was to be paid in staggered phases between October 2025 and June 2026. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
Still on sugar matters, Kenyans have been assured that prices will remain stable despite concerns over supply. These were triggered by a sharp drop in production and prolonged dry conditions in key growing regions. Authorities say the current challenges are part of a planned transition in the sugar sector and not a supply crisis. Measures are already in place to stabilize the market and protect consumers from shortages and price manipulation. Here now is Jasmine Wamboi with that story.
The Sugar Board says there's no cause for panic buying, insisting that national sugar supply remains secure even as production declined sharply in 2025. According to the board, the country produced 613,000 metric tons of sugar in 2025, meeting just 61% of the 1.2 million tons the country needs every year. This is a 25% drop from the record 815,000 tons produced in 2024. A decline officials say was anticipated as the sector entered a major reform and restructuring phase. The board attributed the decline to a combination of factors. This include dry conditions in key growing areas, protection of immature cane, and the temporary closure of several sugar factories. 7 mills in Western Kenya were shut to allow cane to mature, while 4 state-owned factories were closed to facilitate leasing to private investors and rehabilitation works worth 12.5 billion shillings. And the board now says it expects harvesting and milling to resume strongly from December to November of this year, supported by expanded cane development, early maturing varieties and programs funded through the 1.2 billion shilling sugar development levy. Authorities insist these measures will help stabilize supply and keep sugar prices predictable as production recovers. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV.
Welcome back to the programme. My name is Emmanuel Ndungu. Let's get into the sports news. Kenya Premier League leaders Gor Mahia FC take on Bidco United tomorrow in a league match set to kick off at 4 p.m. at the Kasarani Stadium. Gor know they must win tomorrow to consolidate their position at the top of the league, and that is locked in a tight 4-horse race at the halfway mark. The record 21 times league champions are still smarting from their opening day defeat against Bidco United, who have lost only once in the last 5 meetings with Gor Mahia. Since that opening round of the league, Gor Mahia have picked the best results to top the table on 33 points, same as AFC Leopards, but with a game in hand. On their part, Bidco have blown hot and cold and are now 15th, 1 point above the relegation zone. They have won only once in the last 15 matches, drawing 6 and losing 9 times.
Well, we've prepared adequately, believing that we are in a very good shape, and so we'll continue with the success. We know with history that match to match they've been better than us, but we are confident it's a new day, a new moment, a new approach, and we believe we will do our best to get the victory.
The Raila Odinga International Sports Complex is at 80% complete, right on schedule to be completed next month. The stadium, which will be one of Kenya's primary AFCON 2027 venues, is being developed under a multi-sectoral approach comprising the state departments of Sports, Defence, Interior, Transport and more. The approach seeks to integrate construction works, media, communications and security infrastructure to facilitate seamless operations during the tournament. The stadium assessment on Friday was done by the principal secretaries in the Sports, Interior and Defence Ministries.
Nyayo National Stadium is meant to be given a new face, a new canopy. Kirigiti Stadium, we are going to complete it, and therefore it should be in use come next year. And the many stadiums that are ongoing, we have stadiums in each and every county.
And all the infrastructure that is being put in place, both what has been done at Kasarani and what we'll be doing in the training pitches, including Nyayo, is actually up to the standards that is expected.
There is screens that are going on simultaneously. So, but also externally, we have the training pitches that have started, you can tell. So there are things moving simultaneously. But the last bit that is most critical actually for football is the pitch itself.
Let's finish off now. Julian Quinones scored twice to hand Al Ittihad their second consecutive defeat, overturning Karim Benzema's opener in a 2-1 victory in a Saudi Pro League match at the Prince Mohammed bin Fahad Stadium in Dammam on Thursday night. The win lifted Al Qadsiya into 4th place, with the former champion struggling in 6th. Al Ittihad took the lead in the 29th minute when Benzema powered home a penalty after VAR deemed Gaston Alvarez's challenge on Mohamed Al Shankiti worthy of a spot kick. Al Qadsiya responded quickly, with Quinones scoring the equaliser in the 37th minute. Quinones then fired a second in the 59th minute, leaving Al Ittihad on 27 points, 9 behind Al Qadsiya in the standings. Al Hilal are top of the table with 44 points. We know there's many Formula One fans listening at home. The fan base is increasing ever more here in Kenya, and we promise to give you a bit more news on that as testing approaches. Williams' F1 team will not be at the Barcelona test, which is starting on Monday. That's a big setback for them, heavily compromised, but there'll be 2 Bahrain tests for them coming up afterwards. Whose year is it? Is it Ferrari's and Lewis Hamilton's? We'll see. Is it Charles Leclerc's? Is it Lando Norris's again, or will Max Verstappen do the inevitable and win a 5th world championship? We'll see. That's Formula One.
All right. You won't be here tomorrow night.
Tomorrow Saturday?
Yeah.
No, not tomorrow.
But I am, because I saw the story you had on the stadium, Talanta.
Yes.
80%.
80% done.
80% of the way there. Guess what we're discussing tomorrow? Should the stars align?
Oh, yeah.
AFCON 2027.
AFCON 27.
Yes.
It's going to be exciting. We showed some good promise in Chan in our hosting, so it should be a good opportunity to do some more when AFCON comes as well. So looking forward to it. We'll be watching.
Yeah, most definitely. Please do. I've been your host, Olive Burrows.
And I'm Emmanuel Ndung.
And Yulan Zale has been our sign language interpreter on a Friday night. See you tomorrow.
See you around.